I just spent 5 days in an old military fortress at the Brutal Assault Metal Festival. I saw 60 bands where I caught 4 songs or more, plus another 15 where I caught 3 songs or less. Most of the bands were great, some completely blew me away, and a few were so bad that they made me go comfort eating. So these are the best bands, the biggest surprises, and the shows that let me down. Plus, I want to talk about which band had the best crowds, so let's start with that. At a festival like Brutal Assault, the crowd is really the secret weapon. A great band can put on a good show, but when the crowd really gets going, everything changes. The energy goes up and the band feeds off it, and suddenly the whole place feels like it's about to explode. So here are my 5 best crowds at Brutal Assault 2026, and I'm already expecting some arguments in the comments. In the 5th spot is Municipal Waste. This is thrash metal done exactly right. Great songs, played tight, loads of energy, and they got the crowd completely on board from the first note. This for me is a prime example of what a festival thrash metal show should look like. In the 4th spot is this band with this incredibly easy name, Sangui Sugabok. And this was at 1 o'clock on day 2, a total graveyard shift. People were tired, people were hungover, but somehow these guys got the entire place moving. 3rd spot goes to Guilt Trip. This is music I would probably never put on in my car, but live, it's a completely different story. The crowd was going absolutely nuts and the band just fed off it. This was one of those shows where I found myself thinking, okay, I get it now, I get it why people love this stuff. Same thing goes for Terror. This is music that I wouldn't listen to normally, but this is insane when it's played live. You can't really stay outside of the atmosphere, and these guys, they groove like hell, and the crowd was completely mental. And then the final spot, there's Paleface Swiss. Very aggressive deathcore with these brutal breakdowns, nu metal, beatdown influence. It's super creepy atmosphere and a lot of emotional intensity. And every time they dropped one of those breakdowns, the crowd just exploded. I'm not sure I've ever seen a crowd look so happy while listening to music that sounds this gloomy. It was insane stuff. But I'm sure that some of you are already screaming at the screen because I left someone out. So tell me in the comments which band you thought had the best crowds. Whoa! Now let's get to the 5 bands where I walked into with low expectations, or in some cases absolutely no idea what I was walking into. And this is probably my favorite thing about Brutal Assault. I can spend weeks looking at the lineup and making my plan, and then some band you know nothing about completely kicks your ass. First up is Morax from Norway. This is old school heavy metal done right. This is the kind of band I really hope gets bigger, because somebody has to carry that torch when Judas Priest, Iron Maiden and Saxon finally call it a day. And sometimes you don't need to reinvent the wheel, you just need to play that heavy metal properly. And then there was Kim Dracula. I mean, what the fuck is this stuff? Honestly, I shouldn't really like it, but it just sucks you in. You're constantly trying to work out what's coming next, and then what comes next is never what you expected. So one minute you're thinking, what the fuck am I just listening to? And then the next minute, wow, this is great stuff. So if you don't know Kim Dracula, you just need to check it out.
Egészségedre.
They Catafalque was another one. I always like it when bands dare to be different. This is progressive black metal mixed with Hungarian folk, electronics and weird experimental rock. They sing in Hungarian, they have 4 singers, and basically nothing about the music fits neatly into any particular box. And same thing goes for the next band, Deafheaven. I don't think I would ever have discovered this band if it wasn't for Brutal Assault. They mix black metal with shoegaze and post-rock. They create something super heavy and atmospheric, and it's very different from most of the bands that I normally listen to. My plan was just to watch a few songs with them, but I stayed until the last one, and then I had to make a run so that I could see Left to Die. I checked Master Boot Record mainly because I didn't believe that a mix of retro computer sounds and heavy metal would ever work. But somehow it does, and it can go from funny and completely crazy to seriously heavy in a split second. And that guitarist with the orange guitar, that guy is some kind of genius. Reminds me of Steve Vai, Eddie Van Halen, and all those heroes. This was one of those shows where I walked in thinking, what the hell is this? And I walked out thinking, I need to see this again. Before we get to the best bands, I want to tell you, I wasn't just running around at the festival seeing all these bands. I also managed to sit down with 3 absolute legends. David Ellison, that used to be in Megadeth, Phil Rind from Sacred Reich, and Phil Sandoval from Armored Saint. I was kind of hoping that Phil Collins would show up so that I would have interviews with 3 Phils in one festival, but he didn't. But those interviews will be coming out soon, so make sure to stay around for that. Now we're getting serious. These are the 7 bands that stood out the most for me at Brutal Assault 2026. And this one was difficult because there were so many great shows. But these 7 are the shows that really stayed with me. And it starts with a band that I didn't even know when I went to the festival. I knew nothing about Demolition Hammer before the festival, and given my age and music preferences, I feel kind of ashamed about that. This is brutal thrash metal with a dark death metal edge. Immediately made me think about Slayer's Rain in Blood and similar albums. It was fast and heavy in such an old school way that even the dinosaurs joined the mosh pit. Just a blast from the first minute to the last. Body Count was a personal one for me. I saw them 31 years ago at my first ever festival outside of my home country, Iceland. So seeing them again after all those years was already going to be special. And then they started with Raining Blood and Postmortem by Slayer, and immediately they got the crowd exactly where they wanted them. It was one of those moments when you look around and you think, fuck, this is cool. So 31 years later, Body Count still delivers. Vader also has a special place in my heart, because during that so-called pandemic we got about 2 weeks break from the circus at some point, and during that time Vader played a show in Prague. I went to that show and I will never forget it. So when I saw that they would play at Brutal Assault, I knew I was going to enjoy it, but Jesus fucking Christ, this band is so good. And this time they did it for a much larger crowd and the energy was absolutely insane. The 4th place is Amorphis, and that's just an insanely good band. It almost felt like stepping into some hypnotizing ritual that just kept you there. Everything worked, the songs, the sound, the atmosphere, the whole performance. It was one of those shows where you really don't need anything else happening around you. You just stand there and you take it all in. The 3rd place is Nergal and Misthiving. They were playing that first Behemoth album, Svendivið. We're all used to Nergal in Behemoth, and some of us have been lucky enough to see my fellow countrymen Misthiving before. I wasn't really sure what to expect from this combination, but that show ended up being very captivating. It was interesting to see Nergal without a guitar. He was moving around the stage like a true frontman. He even reminded me of Bruce Dickinson at times. And I'm not sure that there is a more powerful black metal band out there than Misthiving right now, so this was a killer combination. 2nd spot is Blackbraid. This stuff is so dark and heavy that it barely gives you a chance to catch your breath. And it feels like they're on a mission to tell us something very important through their music, and nobody can really avoid hearing it. There is something very intense about watching Blackbraid live. It's almost uncomfortable, but in a nice way. And they just pull you in and they don't let go of you until they are done with you. The 1st spot goes to Old Man's Child. I came in completely cold on this one. I knew nearly nothing about this band, and then they just went fucking relentless from start to finish. The sound at that show was probably the best sound at the entire festival. Everything just hit exactly the way it should. I walked in knowing almost nothing about the band, but I walked out thinking, okay, I'm a fan now. And I really hope this band comes around sometimes very soon, because I need another dose of this. But of course, with over 150 bands at a festival, it's impossible for every show to be a home run. Sometimes the energy isn't there, sometimes the sound isn't right, and sometimes I'm just not feeling it. So this is not me saying that these are bad bands and nobody should ever listen to them. This is one man's opinion from one performance at one festival. I really wanted to see Primus. I mean, the whole band is basically built around Les Claypool's ability to play bass in a ridiculously creative way. And I can appreciate that, but for me, it was fun for a song or two. And then it just didn't do anything for me. I'm glad I ticked that box, but I'm also glad that I never need to tick that box again. Clawfinger I had seen at Basenfire Festival a few years ago, and I had fun there. This time I just wasn't feeling it, and considering their style of music, I expected much more from the crowd as well. It somehow never really took off, and I'll give the singer some extra minus points for bringing his political stuff about a certain fat orange man on the stage. We go to a metal festival to escape these things. We get more than enough of this bullshit everywhere else. Keep it for yourself. Katatonia I had seen before and I didn't really like them, but I thought, okay, they're getting this kind of premium slot at Brutal Assault, there must be a reason. So I need to give them another chance, and I did, and it didn't do anything for me. I don't know if there were some problems on the stage, if the singer was having a problem with his voice, or if it simply was one of those shows where everything just fell flat. I ended up so bored that I went comfort eating to cheer myself up, and honestly, the food was probably the highlight of that part of the evening. This was my very personal Brutal Assault 2026, but now I want to hear from you. Who was the best band? Who was the biggest surprise? What shows let you down? And most importantly, what crowd was the most fun? So remember to stay tuned for those interviews when they drop, and then me and the YouTube algorithm both believe that you would like this video up here, so see you over there.